Shut up, vlog me again.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to At the Inn of Scars and Stars. This week, we are going to be sitting back and discussing some on-set, live, studio, movie set, TV show, in front of everybody, accidents that have not worked out really well for a lot of people. Injuries and worse have happened over the years with lots of people. But first, before we get any further into that, how's it going, Mike? How's it going, Sebastian? What have you guys been up to?
Well, we got our Iron Maiden tickets secured this week, so they're coming October 2nd. So we're all excited about that. Matt, Mike, myself, and Cooper, which is Mike's son, are all going. Iron Maiden was one of the best shows I've ever been to, so super excited about that. The new Metallica tour started off this week, which Mike and I are texting back and forth little clippets of the arena and set list. So we've now gone to a 3.5 on the Marshall scale, up from a 3 of last week.
Yeah, we've gone up half a point, and after today, we'll probably go up another half to see get to that 4 again. Get back
You
up.
two are constantly at a half with those boys. I'd like to thank you for leaving me out of that. I've been really busy at work, and that would have driven me nuts.
We wouldn't appreciate it, so we're just keeping that to ourselves.
Yeah, and
we know what to text you and what to not to text you.
I mean, as far as the Iron Maiden goes, I'm excited. This is a bucket list show for me.
Absolutely.
Have you never been
that
to see them?
I've never seen them.
Oh my God,
That's why I told you it's a bucket list show. That and U2 starts their residency in Vegas that week.
Yeah,
I am legitimately considering knocking off my number 1 and number 2 bucket list concerts in the same week and headed down to Vegas and grabbing tickets for that.
How long is their residency? Do you know?
It's not very long. They're opening up this new concert venue. It's not very long.
They've added more shows. Actually, they've added more shows.
Good.
Really?
Good.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
The demand is crazy. So I think I think they're playing maybe a dozen shows. I'm just guessing, but I think it's like a dozen.
Yeah.
Hey, have you guys
see how that works out?
With no Barry Mullen though, there are only 3 of them. They got a replacement drummer.
How many?
Our resident researcher says 2 weeks.
2 weeks. How many times have you guys been to Vegas?
None.
2.
Yeah, you're going. You're definitely going, Matt. You have to experience Vegas. The insane experience that Vegas is.
I have been told I have to go. It's not something that's ever sort of landed high on my trip list. However, also New York City did, and I had a blast around there. But before we get any further into this, we do have a special guest in studio over here that would like to tell us another joke.
All right, bring it on,
Spencer. Go ahead.
Well, it's the wave one.
Yeah, okay. Tell the joke.
What did the wave say to the shore?
What?
Nothing. It just waved.
I love it. That is the best. Getting better every week.
I love it.
Up in his game. That's amazing.
At least his jokes are better than Duff McKagan's.
For the most part, yeah. Duff's got a hit and miss ratio that is it wouldn't get him in the Hall of Fame if he was in the major leagues. So yeah.
For anyone that doesn't know, if you listen to the Jericho podcast, Duff McKagan does a joke of the week or joke of the show or whatever.
Yeah, the Duff McKagan joke of the week every Friday. He's been phoning and he's been, give him credit. He's been doing it for like 6 or 7 years. Super every consistent. Week.
That's cool. That's really cool.
And it's, sometimes he just phones in and gives a bunch to Chris and he just sort of sits on him. But he's, give him credit. Like this started as a one-off in an early podcast and it just kept going. Like, thanks, Duff. Some days they're not funny. Some days they're groaners. And some days it's like, oh, well, I'm going to have to go home and tell everybody that one.
Well, yeah, they're not going to be, gold every time.
And you know what, boys? I don't know if I shared this with you, but Chris Jericho ripped us off.
Uh-oh.
He covered 72 seasons.
I'm not surprised.
He covered it 2 weeks after we did. So in this
Can we
case,
get our lawyers
Jericho
on that?
ripped us off.
Yeah, I'll get our lawyer on it. He's actually sitting beside me behind the curtain.
Don't fuck up my cruise.
We'll let it pass this time, Jericho.
No,
But next time
we'll be driving the boat,
next
buddy. That's where we're
time-
going for this. We'll drive the boat.
You know what? Yes, let's sue him and we'll get a spot. We'll do a live at the inn on the boat, and then I'll do a live.
Could you
cheap-
imagine? That would be so.
and I would do a
sick.
live cheap seat booking as well.
That would be so.
That would
sick.
be. You know what? We got squad goals, boys.
We can take care of the band aspect of the cruise, and you and your boys can take care of the wrestling aspect for the podcast. And my cat is doing the cat things, walking all over my desk.
You know what? We'll sit down. We'll do a live at the end. We'll talk Iron Maiden or Metallica or something, and we'll just have Chris join us
I like it.
And then I'll join the cover band and play some songs.
or Rich Ward. Yeah, you know what? We'll get our. Yeah, you know what? Okay, so we have goals.
Goals.
I'd say we have a deadline, but honestly, he hasn't announced almost no talent for the next cruise. All we know is going to be the former Big Show Paul White is our main top dog guest. Chris will be there, Fozzy will be there, and everybody assumes Guardians of the Jukebox and Quarantine will be there because
we're talented.
Chris's Kiss cover band and Rich Ward's 80s cover band, which is badass.
Did you ever watch the Big Show?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, we did too.
The Big Show?
Yeah, he had his own sitcom.
Yes, he did. He had a Netflix.
Yeah.
And our head researcher has just informed me that Guardians has the next cruise on their tour schedule. So no surprise there, although Chris hasn't announced shit. And you know what? The boat is sold out. So
he doesn't need to announce anything anyway.
It could be a Loot Crate situation. It's just like, Big Show's coming. We'll let you know after we pull out of port who else is here. Just walk around and like an Easter egg hunt. Say, oh my God.
I think in that situation, with all of you are there for the same reason, right? You all are there for the love of everything, of all that stuff. You don't really need to announce shit. Really?
No, I mean, at this point, he really doesn't. The boat is
you're going regardless, whether they have, schlubs like us on the boat talking or playing music or real people.
Yeah, TK will send some wrestlers. He'll have some legends. I mean, it could be a Loot Crate thing. We don't know what's in the box till we get there. And you know what? There's a part of me that's like, that would be fucking cool. And just get to your room and have a little package like they normally do of who's on the boat. And usually there's several hours. Depending on how early you board, there's several hours where you just wander around the boat and run into people. It's how I ran into MJF, Vicky Guerrero, Victoria, like so many people, Pat Patterson, Cody Rhodes. Yeah. Anyways, this is beyond.
I like the jibber jabber. Let's jibber jabber for a minute. Is Cody a nice guy?
Yeah, he was pretty cool. I didn't stop and talk to him too long. It was just hey man, what's up? Last year. Yeah, that was I think he still had that song, but he was only on the first two.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but yeah, and it was cool. I ran into Jake Roberts a lot on Cruise 2, not so much on Cruise 3, but he was there. I was sitting eating breakfast one morning, and I saw this guy sit down, and I had recognized him. He's the husband of Medusa, former WWE Alundra Blaze, and one of the greatest women's talents to ever be produced. She was just probably 20 years too early. And I saw Deuce just looking around confused, and I said he's right there because he was sitting in a booth and just kind of out of her peripheral because of where he was sitting in it. She's like, "How'd you know who I was looking for?" It's like, I've seen him on TV and I've seen you both around the boat. And like,
that's cool.
And most of them are really, really nice. MJF was a friggin' prick the entire cruise, but that's his gimmick.
He definitely takes the kayfabe thing to the maximum. He's lost art in wrestling.
Old school heel stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, most of it's cool. You just Chris is on record as saying there's a lot of people nervous about it. I mean, not so much anymore, but it's the way it is you get on the boat and it's like, oh my God, this person. There's lots of photos, and the photos go on for days. Sure. But I mean, the first day is fairly intense. And then the second day is like, okay, yeah, cool. Hey, what's up? You're in line at the bar together, or you just sitting at a show together. And then by the third and fourth day, it's like, oh yeah, well, there's Chris, there's the Nature Boy, there's Fluffy, there's,
Yeah. Get it.
Yeah, and like I said, you don't have to like wrestling, but if there is a theme cruise for something you are a fan of, fucking go. If it's, if you're into country music, the Outlaw Country Cruise. If you want Kid Rock, there's the Kid Rock Cruise. Apparently, they won't
that
be
would
serving
be
Bud Light.
a Kid Rock cruise would be something interesting.
I am
Man.
American badass.
Yeah, I mean, for some reason,
Any liberal would get tossed off the boat right away, and then that would be that, right?
Yeah, I mean, Walking Dead does their own cruise. Just announced the first year, 3 weeks after the next Jericho cruise is the first View Askew cruise. So Kevin Smith and all the people from Clerks and all of Kevin Smith's movies and are going doing their own cruise. And if it was back to back, I'd have tickets. And I think
there's also like a hard heavy metal cruise called, I think it's called like Hellfest or Hellbarge or something.
Yeah, there's also the Hard Rock Shiprocked as well. Coheed and Cambria has one. Sarah McLachlan has one. The Beach Boys have one. You know what? Go to sixman.net and just take a look. It is astounding how these guys are doing. Absolutely astounding. Like, it's just theme cruise after theme cruise, and there's something for everybody. The Kiss cruise, the Broadway cruise. The Kiss cruise is actually what inspired the Jericho cruise, because Fozzy got booked on one of them, and Chris is like, I could probably do this. It took him 3 years to figure it out.
Cool.
Yeah.
And Chris actually holds the patent for how they set the ring up, because they can't have it sliding. So
so he's made some money there.
He's got the patent on it. I don't know how much money he would have made, because it's not a common thing. But
if Vince ever wants to do a cruise ship wrestling pay-per-view, he'll have to come to Jericho for the patent.
Mm-hmm. They did Cruise 2. They did a live Dynamite AEW show. That's cool. So that was cool.
Nice. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was February of 2020, right before COVID really exploded. There's a Dynamite live from the Jericho cruise, and that was cool. If you look up on either the Fight app or I think it's on YouTube as well, the Sea of Honor tournament is the 2-hour pay-per-view they put together after they were back in port from Cruise 1, where a bird crashes into the canvas and the commentators just call it out.
Nice.
Yeah, it's cool. You can really see how it's going. You get to see my buddy CB faced off against the late Jay Briscoe as well, which was a banger of a match. The first time I'd ever seen either of those two perform live, and I was really impressed with both. I just through friends of friends, I've got to know Cheese a little bit.
Sweet.
You guys remember the Randy Johnson bird incident in baseball when the bird flew by?
Oh, and he hit it with the pitch?
He hit it with like as he was releasing the pitch, and all you just sees the bird get smacked with a ball and a bunch of feathers, and everyone's standing around like, what is the probability of a bird flying right by as the pitch was coming?
That's got to be 1 in 10 heavy millions.
Come on. Google Randy.
You know what? That's
I think it's Randy.
That was a suicide.
Yeah, it was Randy Johnson. Yeah.
If you ask me, that was a suicide.
Yeah. The hardest thrower in baseball. It's over. The bird.
That bird has had to have been killed.
Oh yeah.
It's a good segue into our topic for today.
Absolutely.
The happy fury topic of
free accidents on film sets, I guess. So yeah.
Yeah.
Do we want to dive into it?
Yeah, let's get to it. You guys.
Go ahead, Seb.
Yeah, so I mean, I was like looking around online, and the whole Rest thing came up. I don't know if you guys are familiar with. I think Rest is a movie by Alec Baldwin, or it might be.
It is.
Show. It's a movie.
Yeah, it's a Western, I believe.
It's a Western, and he fired a gun on set, which had a bullet in it, and it ricocheted, or I believe killed, I think, a young stunt girl. Or cinematographer, I think.
He's a cinematographer.
Yeah, and she died on the way to the hospital. But I mean, that kind of pole vaulted or gave us this week's topic about tragedies on film sets or in the entertainment field. I don't know if they've been officially charged yet, but I know that Alec Baldwin, because he's the one that actually fired the gun, and the armorer, who should have never given him a gun with a bullet in it. I don't know what they were doing. are charged with involuntary manslaughter. So I don't know if you guys know this, but there is, prior to this incident for that movie, there had been many safety complaints about the production of that movie where people were walked out and there was even a strike. So
Wow, that's
it-
crazy.
the recipe was set up from the early days of production on the film where things just weren't being done, I guess, to code, so to speak. So yeah, it's pretty bad. Obviously it's a massive tragedy when anyone ever dies on a film set. You know, it's this firearm safety is a thing, and you should never, even if, unless you 100% know that there's not anything in the chamber, you should never point like a live firearm or somebody on a film set.
I kind of thought that was like a rule, especially after The Crow.
It was,
Things
and
like
they
that.
weren't filming. He was practicing with the gun.
Oh,
So the armor said, can I use the gun to practice? And the armor's like, go ahead. But they never checked the chamber for any bullets or anything of that stuff. So
Okay, I got two things here. First is I'm going to share this. Just going back a couple of minutes because I was able to find it.
there
Nice.
it is.
So for those of you that are watching on YouTube and Facebook, here it is, Randy Johnson, and
What?
you don't really see the bird, you just see the feathers.
wow.
That was a straight up bird suicide. That's
Yeah.
what that was.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So he was told the gun was cold, which means that it's not armed, and I guess he was playing around with it to get more used to it because he's trying to be a gunslinger in the movie or whatever. I'm not really sure what the movie is technically about, but
Yeah.
it went off and killed this poor girl, which I think was her first official movie. And she
Yeah.
was a very promising young cinematographer in the world of film. So
Okay, so I have some of the details called up here. So it was October 21st, 2021 in Bonanza City, New Mexico. Cinematographer Helena Hutchins was fatally shot, and director Joel Souza was injured on the set when the revolver was discharged. Baldwin was recently cleared of wrongdoing in this, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah, he was.
There was the safety complaints, absolutely, as Seb mentioned. And yeah, it was exactly as you say. It looks like it was just Baldwin practicing, and somebody put something in the gun that is just was not supposed to be there. We will get into that.
there is some controversy
road.
with that though, because he has claimed many times that he did not actually pull the trigger on the gun. And then forensic testing has determined that you could not have fired it without pulling the trigger. So somebody's not 100% telling the truth
Got a
here.
JFK situation going on.
You know what?
So-
Baldwin has kind of a history of trying to lie badly to cover his ass. I mean, I don't. Ooh, I was gonna say he's kind of bulletproof at this point in his career, but that's just seems like a bad thing to say.
Bad
So I
pun.
you already said it. Yeah.
See what I did there? But no, I mean, he's had incidents with ex-wife, incidents with his kids where he is sort of gone off, done, not great human things, and then turned around and just flat out lied about it poorly. And yet he still seems to be a thing. Like nobody's really not hiring him at this point.
Who's going to go see that movie at this point?
I don't think it's ever going to come out, is it?
Yeah, I think it's cursed, right? Like,
Right.
I'm not saying that, no actors were harmed in the making of the movie, and I'm not sure what the extent of the director's injuries are. But I mean, you lose your cinematographer, which is an extremely important part of the movie. It's just terrible. Like, there's no need for anything of that like that. You have a prop gun for a reason. A prop gun is there for you to get the feel of the gun, but this prop gun, quote unquote, was the real gun, like a real gun with live ammunition in it. So you kind of fault. Well, you fault both of them, but I'm more, and it should. There's an armor specifically on a film set to make sure stuff like this doesn't happen.
Yes.
And the armor gave Alec Baldwin the gun.
So, okay.
Yeah.
But devil's advocate, shouldn't Baldwin know better than to play with a gun around people?
Yes, for
like,
sure.
That's shit you tell 5-year-old kids don't do things around people that are dangerous. Blah blah blah. Right?
Or take the initiative yourself to check
Yep.
it. So
absolutely.
When I was on a film set, or when I was doing training for film and theater, there's a protocol on how you are supposed to approach like a gun in a scene. So the armor, and I know that they were just practicing, so it wasn't like they were in the scene, but the armor is supposed to present the gun to the actor who is using it, and they're supposed to open the chamber to show that it's empty.
Yeah.
Then they give it, and then to both parties. So every time the gun is passed from a hand to another hand, it's supposed to be open to show that there's nothing in there. So you get the gun as the actor, and the other actor who's being pointed at also gets, or semi-pointed at, gets to see that it's empty. You close it.
Yeah.
And then you're not allowed to give the gun to anyone else. Obviously, if it's in the scene where they wrestle away, it's a different story. But the only person you're allowed to give the gun back to is the armorer that gave you the gun. And they're supposed to, that their only job on the set is to make sure that that gun travels back and forth properly with no ammunition loaded in it. So,
and that makes total sense, right?
Yeah.
And as far as the Joel Souza's injuries, the bullet passed through Hutchins and lodged in his shoulder. So it definitely sounds like it was a through and through injury, and Joel was standing right behind her. And he's lucky he was standing where he was. If he had been, 6 or 7 inches either direction, that could have been a twofer, right? Like, these things are not to be messed around with, and we've known this for a long time.
They changed the I mean, you talked about The Crow a little bit. When Brandon Lee was killed on the set of The Crow, they basically changed a lot of the rule sets. I believe from that movie, you're now not allowed to point a gun at another actor, so you have to use camera trickery to kind of point it off to the side so it's not directly at them, and they can manipulate the cameras and the footage in a way that it looks like you're pointing it at the actor. But the guy, and I cannot remember the actor's name, but the guy that actually shot Brandon Lee went into like major depression for years afterwards.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
He couldn't
he
film
was
again. So I can't
remember.
Yeah,
his career has recovered. I'm sure we'll get to The Crow in a little bit, because I know at least one of us had notes on that one. And we'll get into a little more detail there. Mike, what do you got for us?
Well,
I know you had your research assistants in on this.
I did. I employed the whole crew on this one. Which this one I didn't even know about. We were just talking about today's topic yesterday. We were sitting on the deck having a coffee, whatever. And so we were talking. The wife asked me, "Did you remember the Twilight Zone accident from like '82?" I'm like, no idea. So we kind of looked it up, did some research, and holy doodles, this one was pretty gnarly. So I guess they were filming a scene with a helicopter. The helicopter was hovering, 25 feet over top of the actor, and he had two children with him as well. And it was like it sounds like a rescue scene, and there's supposed to be some pyrotechnics going off, and they let off some pyro. The pyro hit the tail rotor of the helicopter, and you kind of know where this is going. And basically, a helicopter spun out of control, decapitated the actor and one of the children, and crushed the other one. Jesus. So 3 horrible deaths on this set, this shoot. And Twilight Zone, big movie. It sounds like they finished making the movie, which it's freaking bizarre.
How do you guys feel about that? Like, how do you feel about them going to finish the movie after like a major accident?
I think that's horrible. Like how, like the poor, forget
the show must go on. I mean, what happened with Owen Hart when he died? You have to be. Was it the Undertaker was the next person to fight after death? Or
I don't specifically remember, but that pay-per-view is really hard to get a hold of. I'm not even sure it's on the WWE network.
I don't think it would be, but like,
why
do you
would it be?
agree that they go on with the show, so to speak, or
Well, the
That's a
thing is,
tough
at
question,
the
right?
time, they weren't sure Owen had passed. They were
they
working
would
on
have
him. He
known
was-
before the conclusion
was-
of the next
I mean,
match, though.
everybody that was at ringside was absolutely sure of it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they were working on him. They were doing their best, and he had not been. What's the word I'm looking for? They
Ceased
hadn't. He hadn't. They hadn't decided to call time of death on him.
Yeah.
Is I guess the best way I can put it with the minimal brain function I have this morning.
I may have just
so
stolen your thunder if you were going
at
to talk
some
about that
point
later.
they absolutely, because they did an on camera with Jim Ross announcing it later in the show. And everybody in the arena, everybody sitting ringside saw this, and the guys that were in the ring could see and feel the soft spot. They probably should have called off the show.
Yeah.
But I think at that point, if you go and listen to Conrad Thompson podcasts, especially Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, they do cover this. It is one of the most covered topics in wrestling. There is a Dark Side of the Ring on it, a 2-parter that's available on Crave, which I highly recommend that series, period. At that time, there was a lot of people just in fucking shock. Like their brains weren't functioning. They were into an autopilot mode of what do we do? And I mean, they finished The Crow, but there wasn't much left in that movie either.
Well, they had finished most of his close-up stuff anyways. So I think they just got the stunt actor to do some establishing shots that they needed, but the film was like 80%, 90% filmed at that point. So but yeah, like how do you, on the set of Twilight Zone, Mike, how do you show up for work the next shooting day? Like, what do you do?
Right. Well, you're conflicted. You're conflicted, right?
Yeah.
Because it's your job, and it's we're all told we got to go to work every day, blah blah blah. But then shit like this happens, and it's like, wow, I don't eat. It's tough.
You want to know what's really fucked up about this whole situation? The Twilight Zone situation. Sorry to interrupt. This just floored me. So the actor's line underneath the helicopter was this: "I'll keep you safe, kids. I promise. Nothing will hurt you. I swear to God."
Yep.
That was the line that he was supposed to deliver. And then
that's crazy.
Isn't that just like that's a cursed movie if you tell me.
Yeah, and even because there was like John Landis was charged with he's the first director to be charged with manslaughter, because I guess there was a lot of the crew said that he told the helicopter to get lower.
The director?
Yeah.
So, okay. I've worked on a film set before where it was for why can't I remember it? Fantastic Four, the Silver Surfer one. You remember that movie?
I blame you for everything then.
You can. So I was a background extra. I was a wedding usher at Jessica Alba's wedding. When that Silver Surfer comes screeching by and then the helicopter crashes on the wedding platform and then the thing has to like hold it back, and this is a big thing, right? So it was a 5-day shoot. We were supposed to film the helicopter scenes on one day, and the helicopter pilot goes to the director, "I can't do it today." Like, "Well, why can't you do it today? We have everything set up." He's like, "It's too windy. I can't do it today." Goes, "I'm not risking the safety of these people." And, who's going to know better than the helicopter pilot?
The director. Come on, man.
Well, exactly. The director has a vision, so they want to frame something, but they're not the professional in this situation, right? The pilot has to be the one to step in and say, "Nope, this is not safe. I can't do it." right? So maybe the pilot was like, it's fine. I trust my skills or whatnot, right? But you never know what can happen, especially when you're operating such a heavy piece of machinery, right?
Yeah.
Or a firearm, for that example, right?
Sure.
I wonder if at some point there's a bit of starlust from the armor or from the pilot saying, oh, I can do this because I'm in a movie or whatnot, right? But like the director is not going to know the safety, and I'm not excusing him for anything, but he's not going to know the safety parameters of a helicopter because he's never freaking flown one.
No.
Right? It's up to the pilot to say yes or no. This is doable or not doable.
He's power tripping at that point. It's like, fuck you. I got my budget. This is our schedule. We're doing it. I don't give a shit what you think. Get in that chopper and fly it, or I'll find somebody else. That's the sad truth, right? So a lot of these guys, like, I don't want to bring up Kobe, but I think maybe that had a little bit to do with that too. Like the weather conditions were horrible the day Kobe passed.
Kobe's influence too. I'm not saying it's his fault though, but he's like, hey, can you do this? Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And it's just even going back to when Stevie Ray Vaughan died in his helicopter crash. Again, bad weather. That everyone was telling them all not to go. Stevie's drummer told him, don't get on that chopper, man. Don't do it. He's like, no, I gotta go. And then he went and he crashed and he died. Terrible. So, but yeah, back to this Twilight Zone thing. Like Spielberg was a producer of this, and he was good friends with John Landis at the time. And after that they weren't friends anymore. And Spielberg's quote was, "The crash made me grow a little and left everyone who worked on the movie sick to the center of their souls. No movie is worth dying for. I think people are standing up much more now than ever to producers and directors who ask too much. If something isn't safe, it's the right and responsibility of every actor and crew member to yell cut." And that's kind of,
yeah.
Right? Well, I mean, I have worked on construction sites. I have worked with boomless and scissorless, and I currently work with very dangerous substances. And it comes down to, you have the right to refuse unsafe work.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't stop on a construction site. That doesn't stop if you are a roadside worker or a tow truck driver. It doesn't stop if you're on a stage, especially with the way a lot of things are constructed. A lot of live shows, a lot of special effects for movies that are practical. There are pyro going off. There's deadly machinery. There are firearms, as we've discussed already. You don't get to. Michael Jackson nearly killed himself because he went up like a matchstick in a Pepsi commercial.
Yeah.
In the 80s. James Hetfield.
Oh yeah.
Pyro. Yeah. Pyro accident happens, right?
How many wrestlers
I got another pyro accident coming.
Yeah.
On my list. Like you cannot do it. You go back to the early days of filmmaking, the silent films and the first talkies. You look at some of that Charlie Chaplin stuff. You look at some of these black and white footages where guys hanging from a train, or
that's real stuff.
That's real shit.
Very famous that frame of the house falling, and I think it's Charlie Chaplin, but I could be wrong.
It's not. It's somebody else, but I know who you're talking about.
Buster Keaton.
That's Keaton. It. Yes, thank you.
And he's standing there, and the entire front frame of the house falls, and he's standing right where the window lands. That was
Buster Keaton is infamous for doing these stunts, live stunts. Like there's the one with the moving train where he keeps jumping on the front of the moving train.
Yes.
And trying to get I think it's a big log that's jammed in it, but the train's moving. It's a real train.
It's not a locomotive. They're
a locomotive, and he's jumping on and off the train, going in front of it. It's just a whole skit with him. He was next level.
You look at, and not even just that. You look at Jackie Chan. His movies are absolutely famous. He does his own stunts. He has had more injuries in his life than any human should ever have. You look at the end of his movies, and every single one is bloopers where he is trying to do a stunt and screwing it up.
Yeah.
Right. And he's getting bumps and bruises and broken bones. And, then there are guys like Buster Keaton going out there and going, yeah, no worries. I'll take care of this.
Have the frame of a house fall on me and I'll be fine.
Right. It's people are going to do what they're going to do. This is why there's insurance on movie sets. This is why there are stuntmen, and the whole stuntman profession is Yeah, I'll try to die for a movie.
Yeah, I've
We're trying
seen
not
some
to.
live stunt performances, and you're kind of just looking at them, going like, "I can't believe you're doing this." So
I mean, back in January, I went and saw the Waterworld show at Universal.
oh, great movie.
We'll get
We've
into
talked
that.
about it
But
before
no,
on this
yeah,
podcast. Phenomenal movie.
yeah, no, it's. But I mean, these, there's a dozen people, and it's not a big set, but they're flying around in there in boats, and there's fire, and they are jumping off of stuff, and there is pyro, and there are jet
Yeah.
skis, and and it's wet too,
Yeah.
right?
You
Even
don't
like the
say.
Indiana Jones
Waterworld?
one
What? You
at
don't say.
Disney as well, right? Same idea. They're recreating, I think, the scene from Raiders with the plane,
with-
the plane prop and stuff, where Buddy gets
Yeah.
all chopped up, and there's a whole it's lots of pyro, gunshots. It's really pretty cool. But obviously everything is safe, and it's Disney, so
What's the
Well-
famous saying from The Big Bang Theory when I can't remember Sheldon? What's Sheldon's? Amy, right? Amy's his
Yeah.
girlfriend. Where they watch Raiders of the Lost Ark, and she's like, "Yeah, that movie would have been exactly the same without the lead character, because he has no impact on the movie. Like it
Yeah.
would have ended exactly the same way without Indiana Jones in it, because they would have opened the covenant and
The only difference was Indy was there to put the
Well-
ark in the crate and take it back and put it in a warehouse.
that's it. Yeah, so he probably made it
that's
worse. Matt, okay, moving on. What do you got for us?
Yeah.
here?
Okay.
Unless,
So
like,
I'm
you
gonna.
still wanna talk about it.
I got one stunt performer as well. I have called up a clip of this one. So we're going back to the shit era of Bond with Roger Moore. This is For Your Eyes Only. Bond is trying to escape from a top of a mountain.
it's not all shit, okay? Just most of it.
You can only be Bond
You're-
in a luge.
Yeah, right. And Bond has we're dozens of movies deep,
Oh my God.
right? And all sorts of stunts. Most of them practical, well before CGI, because we're talking movies that go back to the 60s, right?
Yeah.
And all crazy stunts. So I mean, we got a motorcycle down in the bobsled track. We got a bobsled just in front of it, and we have Bond on skis right behind him.
That would be fun
And-
to be on skis in a bobsled track. Oh, that looked pretty cool.
And
Oh,
you
you'd be
could-
going so
You could
fast.
totally
Oh my
tell the
God.
green screen there,
Crazy.
right there with Roger Moore. So obviously he's not doing it. And then we clearly have a live practical, right? The motorcycle flying through the turns. I cannot imagine somebody going, "Yeah, that looks like fun. Let's do it."
Yeah.
But there are
what
adrenaline
could
junkies,
possibly go wrong?
right? I'm not one of them. And then
Ooh.
it's jumping out. So the thing here
Oh, good
is,
God.
while filming this, the bobsled flip.
Yikes.
We'll get rid of that now. But the bobsled flip, and it killed a 23-year-old stuntman, Paolo Rigoni, lost his life doing that stunt.
Terrible.
Yeah, if you've ever seen the movie Cool Runnings or happened to be watching the bobsled of the 1986 Calgary Olympics, you saw the Jamaican bobsled team ended up upside down. They all
it hap-
survived.
It happens
was
all the time,
basically-
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically the same thing.
Wasn't there a skeleton person, someone that did skeleton? I can't remember if it was a female or male. Died in the
Vancouver?
Vancouver Olympics.
Yeah.
Like in
it-
training before the Olympics
yeah, it was
started or
just a
something.
practice run,
Yeah, I
and he
thought
flew
so.
off and hit his head and he
Yeah.
died. Yeah.
Skeleton is just psychotic.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, it's
Let's go head first on a board 3.5 inches from the surface of the ice.
Yeah. face
Kinda-
first luge.
Face first luge.
Like
Yeah.
luge in itself, you're getting way up into the terminal velocity realm. But let's go face first. Now, there are adrenaline junkies, and that's fine if that's what you want to do. I cannot imagine going, "Yeah, cool, man, let me do it." Like, no, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is, and especially when you're talking about the Olympics, they're not paid. These
Well,
guys
you
train.
get some compensation for it.
They
But
get-
yeah, it's not.
They train their entire lives for very, very little. And when you're done, if you don't have a gold medal, you've basically wasted your life. If you
Yeah.
do have a gold medal, you might have enough notoriety to get a couple of quick sponsorships. You might end up on the Wheaties box. You might end up as a commentator
I
somewhere.
was just gonna say Wheaties.
But I mean, it's very, very short lived. You can read Kurt Angle's book, and he talks about it. Like he won the gold medal in '96 with a broken freaking neck. And then he tried his hand at whatever. He was heavily recruited by professional wrestling and eventually turned it down. There's a very famous story about him showing up to basically see what ECW is about and deciding, nope, this isn't for me. And he tried commentating on and sports casting. He tried a bunch of stuff and nothing worked. And he eventually just gave up and said, okay, I guess I professional wrestle. And it worked for wrestling fans because he's one of the greatest of all times. But it is a very rare, it's a very rare thing for an Olympian that is not in one of the big 4 or 5 sports, like the soccer players, or the footballers, the basketball teams, the hockey teams. A lot of these sports don't translate. And what are you supposed to do if you win a gold medal in the skeleton? You get a Wheaties box, you get some sponsorships, you get some speaking deals. What do you do in 3 years if your last Olympics?
Who's watched skeleton outside of the Winter Olympics? Who's watched luge outside of the Winter Olympics? Who's watched bobsled outside of the Winter Olympics? Who's watched track and field? Who's watched a 100-meter dash outside of the Olympics? Like, I mean, you might occasionally go by it, but you're not looking for it on your TV listings, right? Not like the playoffs of hockey or World Cup of soccer or baseball or football. You know, like you're not. It's not commonplace to seek out these sports, right? But if it's the Olympics, you're going to watch it, obviously, because it's 2 weeks of sports. But
it's off season or afternoon programming, because I mean, a lot of especially the Winter Olympics, they pop up. We've got hockey, basketball, and football all going, so you might catch it at like 10 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the afternoon before the pregame stuff starts on one of the sports channels.
Yeah, I watch all the non-popular sports when the Olympics are on, summer and winter. All the stuff, ski jumping, biathlon, all that fun stuff.
Oh, ski jumping, good Lord.
Yeah.
And some of those crashes these guys have in the downhill.
Yep.
Like,
you're doing 100, you're doing like 100 miles an hour and
you're rolling to the end of the track, man. There's
you
nothing.
Blow a tire, man. Your legs are going to be facing the wrong way.
You're not stopping until you get to the end.
And watching some of these crashes, it is astounding to me that sometimes you're like, well, this person just ragdolled down the hill at 115 kilometers an hour, and they get up and they're like, well, guess I screwed that up.
I'll get that on the next run.
Hospital.
You go back up and try again.
Yeah, right.
It's crazy.
I mean, especially the ski jump. Like, they're way up there.
They're a long ways up. Yeah.
Although to be fair, though, like I've crashed before going pretty fast skiing, and it doesn't hurt as much as people think it does.
No,
if you can keep yourself under control when you are
you crash and you just keep rolling, because it's pretty soft. I mean, unless you're on a slick sheet of ice, but most of the time it's just small little bumps, and you just kind of slow down to a roll and eventually stop, and then you got to go find where your glass goggles went. And one of my skis is in the next lane over, or next.
It hurts more when you're in your 40s, but when you're in your early 20s, you can crash all you like. But when you crash now at our age, it's like, holy shit, that was not cool.
That's it. I'm done. One crash,
I'm
done.
Over. Got to go home. Call the chiropractor, massage therapy, you name it.
Yeah, I haven't skied in 30 years. I wasn't good, but I would just I would go with the school ski trips, and it's like, oh, okay, well, I'd go with friends that could ski, and I'm like, all right, well, let's go here. It's like, we're going down this one. You sure you want to do that? I'm like, well, fuck it. What's the worst that can happen? And I'm like, oh, I should not be here, but I'm screwed now because I pointed myself downhill saying this is a good idea. So clearly I'm not that bright. This is probably where, what I was saying earlier, where no, thank you. I don't think I'll try that. And I roll down the hill. Would I want to do it in my 40s? No.
I'm pretty sure most people did these schools ski trips because you get 3 extra days off of school a year. Because I believe there were Wednesdays and Saturdays. There was 3 Wednesdays and 3 Saturdays that you had to go. So you missed
it varied on schools.
Okay.
It varied for schools. The last one I went on, we did Whistler. It was Wednesdays.
You didn't go to Sands, did you?
No, I went to Delview.
Okay, so for Sands, it was 3 Wednesdays and 3 Saturdays.
Yeah.
So throughout a year, and you have to show up at the school at like 5:30 in the
Oh,
morning.
yeah.
Oh
it
my
was
God.
super early. Especially going up to Whistler. That was a long
Yeah.
day.
Actually, I have one of my kids is up in Sun Peaks right now, not on a school ski trip, but
Nice.
up there for a choir deal.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And I had to
Nice.
drop her out. Like I was on time for work, which
Wow.
is weird
That's
because normally
amazing.
you can count on me to be at least 15 minutes behind when I'm supposed to be there on a regular basis. So I weirded a bunch of people out by being
Showing up
through
on
the
time. What
gate
the hell
at
are you doing here?
2 minutes to 6. Oh yeah, no, it's like I got a couple of people that had pulled in behind me. I'm like that. What? No.
Are you okay? Have you been to bed yet?
Like,
Have you been up all night?
and I got a big bag of Tim Hortons breakfast and a Timmy's coffee. And the kid had to be at school early.
That's funny.
Yeah. What else you got for us, Seb?
So talking about accidents, there's the infamous Deadpool 2 accident.
Thank you.
So they filmed Deadpool 2 in Vancouver, and a
Mhm.
female motorcyclist, stunt girl. I think it was her first major stunt
It
work.
was.
Yeah, and something went wrong with the bike, and it went airborne through the glass of a ground floor
Mhm.
building, basically.
Yeah,
Killed
on
her.
the west end of downtown,
Yeah.
not too far from Stanley Park. I know this because I was working on a residential security tower or a residential tower security system 2 blocks away when it happened.
Yeah. I don't think she's
So-
wearing a helmet, so I think that was the issue. is
Yes.
that it was being filmed with somebody riding a bike without a helmet, which
Yeah.
you got to think, if they weren't wearing a helmet, would they have survived the crash? So, but yeah, so it apparently it hit I guess it came off a ramp, or it looked like it came off a ramp. It was
Mhm.
airborne and hit the glass window at about 60 kilometers an hour.
Mhm.
So, yeah, happened at like 8:30 in the morning too.
Yes, it did. It was
Yeah.
I was already on site when it happened because I mean it was a long commute, but we could hear the commotion. And then we found out on lunch when it just happened because I mean you're downtown, sirens and stuff go off all the time. But then
Yeah.
we found out just a couple of blocks away they were filming Deadpool. Now normally if we get it's like, oh cool, there's a movie a couple blocks away, but this was clearly not the date for set stocking.
No, that's
No.
yeah. So it's honestly, it's like you try. There's so many variables that come into these accidents. I have a vision for what I want as a director. There's something in the script. Then I'm not saying this is the case for Deadpool 2. Absolutely not. But some actors or stunt people will embellish on their resume what they're capable of to get that break in the industry, right?
Absolutely.
How many people have lied on a resume, and again, I'm not saying this happened in Deadpool 2, but some people take things under their own context and think they can do it, but they don't have the experience to do it, and tragedy occurs because of it, right? So whenever you're doing something that's very dangerous, you better believe you know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
So yeah, this one was
so
close to
give
home,
me
so.
Yeah. No, very late, literally. So the stunt was named Joy Harris.
Yeah.
And I am reading Hollywood Reporter here. Government investigators into the 2017 motorcycle stunt person death on the set of Deadpool 2 have concluded that the fatality was due to inadequate planning and other safety violations by the filmmakers and not rider error. And this was, Hollywood Reporter goes on to say it was WorkSafe BC. It's the equivalent of OSHA in the States. And she was doubling for Domino when she did that. So I know the exact scene that happened. It's the chase scene as they are chasing the prison bus, the prison rig through downtown with Juggernaut and everybody else on board, and Domino, driving the motorcycle behind it. And you know what? Domino had a big old afro in that movie.
Yeah.
And there's no reason they could not have modified a helmet and to be hidden under that, especially when you consider the amount of CGI that was already in that film. They could have cleaned that up, no problem. They could have used trick photography. But this is, I'm just saying what I'm sure WorkSafe BC already found, right? Like they're like,
Yeah.
what were you thinking? So this is a hunt again. It's going back to one of those things, as you were saying with the Twilight Zone, Mike. It's the film company, the production company, the money people, the suits going, no, we're doing it this way.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, we'll find somebody else.
and
And then it's like, okay, I need the job, so you just go and do it.
Yep.
Yeah, I wonder if that's a factor in a lot of these accidents, you know.
Probably. Absolutely.
I mean, the famous one is anyone
actually,
gonna
then just
Go ahead.
scrolling down in this, the investigation report also cited lack of safety headgear. I didn't
There you
even
go.
have to scroll down to figure that out, right? Like just to be safe in full disclosure on reading this, it's out of the Hollywood Reporter. So
Yeah.
sorry I cut you off there.
No, but like it goes to the conversation. I don't know if any of you guys were going to talk about The Exorcist or not, but that was cursed apparently. I mean, the film set burned down except for Regan's room. Or Regan's room was the only room that didn't burn down when there was like an onset fire, basically burned the whole set down. Apparently somebody was killed during the making of it, and Linda Blair has chronic back problems from filming the movie because of the harness that she was wearing. Linda Blair, for those of you who don't know, plays the little girl in The Exorcist where her head spins around. But there's a lot of scenes
That
in
had
the
to hurt too. Like head spinning
yeah,
around like that.
I mean, getting it 360 degrees
Seriously,
around. But yeah, so again, you're a new actor who has never starred in a major film,
Right.
and you probably, I'm not saying it's the case for Linda Blair or The Exorcist, but I know a lot of people who are trying to break into the business don't have the integrity to say no to things because they want to make it in the business. So do you now allow yourselves a little bit of risk because this is what the scene calls for and you don't want to piss off the director or the other actor or the producers? And do you just say, yeah, that's something that I just have to endure, even if it's a little less safe? You know, at some point you have to say, I don't feel comfortable in this, and people have to respect that, or show you that what they're doing has safety mechanisms and whatnot associated to it, right? But like if you remember The Exorcist, how she gets yanked around in that bed when she's being put in the later stages of the movie, that can't be good. Like, she suffered whiplash and back injuries because of the aggressiveness of that harness that they used in the filming of the movie, right? So, you know, I think at one point she gets slammed back against to a wall or something. So plus the conditions of filming, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but they turned her room into a refrigerator because they wanted real chill in the room.
Yes.
So they literally made her room a refrigerator. So the breath that you see them breathing is legitimate cold. And so, yeah, obviously you're not in the room all day, but when you're filming a take after take after take and you're wearing a nightgown and you're sitting in a refrigerator for 25 minutes filming scenes, that can't be good on your body, right?
Oh God, no.
So, you know, again, like, when was The Exorcist filmed? The late 70s, I believe.
It was like 72.
Yeah, so you got away with a lot more in the 70s, 80s before ACTRA and the union, the Film Actors Union, now brings like representatives to set to make sure everything's okay. Like, you can't get away with some of that stuff now.
No.
But back then, directors are like, you're an artist, it's for the vision of the project, basically. So yeah. So that
that goes back to what we were saying earlier, is there's a reason we have all these rules.
Yeah.
Right. There's a reason we have all the insurance. There's a reason we have people on set, medical on set. It's because we fucked it up. The only reason we have any rules whatsoever as a human race for our safety is because somebody done fucked it up.
Oops.
Right? Like,
pretty much.
You see stupid signs somewhere. It's like, do not stick your hand near spinning blades. Why?
Yeah.
Somebody stuck their hand near a spinning blade.
Ow, I just lost my hand.
Here's a question for you guys. What is a moronic thing that you knew was bad for you that you did as a kid? I have a really good one. I stuck my finger in the car lighter.
Yeah, that would tingle.
I put it in for literally a half a second, and I'm like, I wonder if it's hot yet. You remember those car lighters that you had to push in?
Yeah, man.
Because my first car I had, my Honda Accord, had a car lighter for some. Do you want? Well, there you
So
go.
Sarah's willing to give
Yeah.
us her dating history. I already know most of it, and
How much time do we have?
actually
He'll be our
not
special
much.
guest next week. She
Not
can give us-
much. It's a short resume, but wow. This,
But have you ever like, don't touch it, it's hot? Oh, there's the TikTok of the mother with that, which is hilarious because this is like, it's a short little TikTok. So mother's holding a pot of water that's just been boiled,
Mhm.
and she goes to hand it to her teenage daughter, and like she's got mittens on, and the daughter goes to take it underneath the pot, and she's like, take it by the handles. And then she goes again to take it underneath the pot. She's like, take it by the handles. Then she goes
Yeah.
a third time. She's, take it by the handles. What are you doing? Like, but you don't learn until that physical pain
Yeah.
comes in, right?
Mhm.
So sometimes you got to make the mistakes the hard way.
I mean,
you know?
yeah. I don't know if I can pick any one stupid ass thing out of my childhood that
Yeah, there's
stands
a
out,
lot of them. There's a
but
big list.
as
I
a
got a good one.
parent, I can go, don't do the exact same thing. It's like, you know what?
That's hot. Don't touch it.
Fine, go
I
ahead.
just said it's
Stick
hot.
the
Don't
penny
touch
in
it.
the- Stick the penny in the light socket. See how that turns out for you.
Oh, Mike, you said you had a good one?
Oh God, I can't believe I'm even to admit this.
Let's go.
So I was camping with my parents. I don't know how old I was. I was old enough to know better. Let's just put it that way. And you remember like those Coleman lanterns, the ones with the gas, you pump it and you turn it on and you got light, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, I wonder how hot it is on the top of that lantern.
Oh, fucking amazing.
Oh yeah. So where the hell were we? We were at Alouette Lake. And I can't remember which hand it was. But I stuck my whole hand on top, like pressed down full on this thing. And I burned the shit out of my hand. And it might have been my left. It was probably my left hand. And it's funny, even now, like I can touch insanely hot things with my hand. And even my kids are like, how the hell are you picking that up? I'm like, it's not even hot. I can't even.
Oh, you probably burned some nerves off.
Oh, absolutely. and I remember the next day, my whole hand was just like giant red blister. And just my parents are like, you fucking moron. Like, what are you? Like, I wasn't like a toddler or like 4. I was probably, I don't know, 10, maybe. Like, I was way too old. I was old enough to know, like, this is going to be really fucking hot.
Mike, I had a driver's license when I touched
Okay.
the
Oh,
the
but you got to
cigarette
know,
lighter.
hey, that's glowing
There-
really orange. I
That
don't know
can't
how
be hot
is.
that fast already. No, because I put it in. I literally put it in for a second, then I
Yeah.
pulled it out. I'm like, that can't be that hot,
Yeah,
right? I touched
yeah.
it with my thumb, and what an idiot! Like, of course it's gonna be hot.
Oh shit.
I want to say something, but I'm not going to say it.
Please
say
while
it.
we're on the air, so you
No,
boys
it's
can
in
just
private chat. I see it.
you
right
guys can
there.
just check the private chat because I think Mike and I are both thinking it. Yeah. So actually, you know what? With Mike saying that, yeah, I do remember something
Yeah.
fucking stupid I did. I'm like much like Mike. I fucking around with fire. I decided that one afternoon I was burning some shit. Nobody was home. And it was in the fireplace downstairs, and it was taking a while. And I was, I was like, okay, I'm kind of over waiting for this. So my genius ass, what do you think I did?
Lighter
Some
fluid.
gasoline on it.
Gasoline. I went and poured a
no.
cup out of the fucking lawnmower gas
God.
and tossed it on there. That jumped back out at me.
Yeah.
Running through the house with my kneecaps on fire to get to get the water jug out of the fridge to put the carpet
Oh
out.
my god!
Oh my God. How much trouble did you get in?
So you
Oh,
almost
it was
burned your
a lot.
house down. See,
It
that
was
takes the
fucking a
cake.
lot. Yeah, no,
Yeah. No shit.
if they had beaten me till I looked like a cast member of the Goonies, I probably wouldn't have blamed them. Yeah, no, it was bad.
That's
You know what?
so
While
funny.
we're talking about fire, I know it's kind of Mike's turn. However,
No, go
I
ahead.
want to bring
Oh,
this
good.
up
Please do.
because we're talking about live stage shows. We were talking about pyro. So in 2010, February 2010, at a pay-per-view called The Elimination Chamber, the Undertaker's coming out. He had a lot of pyro in his entrance, and here's a shot from the cameraman looking dead up the aisle at the Undertaker,
Uh-oh.
coming down to the ring.
but the 2010 Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. Taker entered in typical fashion, but what differed about his entrance on this night stemmed from an issue with the pyro, as Taker would be burned by the fire, with some of it even hitting him in the face.
Thank
Oh,
goodness
geez.
I had the presence of mind to know that I had to move forward. When I can start to see something other than fire, I can see that my right sleeve is on fire and my hat's on fire.
Taker suffered second
So he suffered,
Yeah,
you know,
I
I'm
remember
gonna,
that.
burns and could be seen pouring bottles of water over his burned skin in an attempt to cool down. Following the incident, The Undertaker would demand that the pyrotechnics worker responsible for the mistake be fired.
no shit. So as
Yeah,
you saw
he
in the video,
continued to
what had
wrestle that
happened
match
is,
too, didn't he? And he was
well,
like, he was literally burning in the
I will
ring.
tell you
Show must go
all
on.
about this. So as you see in the video, he steps and the pyro went off prematurely and engulfed him. He wasn't going to wear that coat to the ring
Well, good thing he
because
did.
he didn't like the way it looked. The Taker himself has told this story. It's easy to find. But he threw it on. That probably saved his life.
Yeah.
So you see him dash out of the way of the first fire geyser right into the second.
Jeez. Yeah.
He got
'cause-
2 fireballs go off underneath him. Got rid of the coat. The coat was melted. The coat is destroyed. He's lucky he wet his hair down beforehand, like most wrestlers do. And it's The Undertaker. He is a notorious BMF. And he hopped in. Now, the Elimination Chamber, the way this is structured is 2 guys start. There's 4 other competitors or teams in pods. And you get released every 5 minutes-ish, depending on how the timing of the show goes. We won't get into that. Taker was the last one out. He is sitting in there. He is being passed bottles of water, dumping it on himself. If you see this pay-per-view, and it's not hard to find, you can see it on the network, you can see it on YouTube. He is pouring the water all over himself, skin blistering.
Yeah.
He is
I've
waiting in
seen that
there
before. Yeah.
for 15 or 20 minutes before he gets into the match, and then he does the fucking match. The guy he was in there with that he would lose the title to, Chris Jericho.
That's probably a good partner to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
But
Chris
the guys in
Jericho
the
has a
match,
lot. Chris Jericho has a lot of wherewithal to understand what's going on in the
Mhm.
ring or to improvise. Like he's the master, one of the masters of improvising when things go wrong. Like he can, him and Taker probably have a great ability to like, okay, we got to figure this out. Triple H as well, I think, is a master improviser of when things go wrong. Ric Flair probably the best at that. I don't think.
Honestly, there are versions of that story that have been told where, you know, Taker is part of the reason Taker's sitting in that cell is in pod and waiting to come out still is because he knows if he goes backstage and sees this guy, he's going to jail. Not the pyro guy, Taker.
Mhm.
So he's getting bottles of water and he's like, get him the fuck out of this building. If I see him, I'll kill him.
Yeah, don't
And
piss
so
Taker
the guy
off.
obviously fired on the spot, out the door. And you know what? I don't know if there was any criminal charges or anything there because it's a clear mistake, but I mean, you're dealing with fire. So
I think wrestling itself has a great amount of injuries, accidental injuries and stuff like that happen because they definitely thread the safety line quite a bit.
you think?
Yeah. And in order for it to look real on a live performance, like, you know,
You got to get tight or it looks like garbage.
You have to get tight. Like people being thrown off a Hell in the Cell, like you're landing on a table.
Well,
There's
yeah,
not
I
a lot
mean,
of margin for error there.
Let's talk about that for a second. Undertaker went into that match with a broken foot. First thing he does is climb up to the top and throws Mick Foley off.
Yeah,
That they had decided on before the match. Mick climbing back up the cell. He was supposed to get choke slammed. When he got choke slammed, he didn't, and you can see it. It's notorious. Like normally they'll jump and make it look cool. Mick didn't. It basically he got grabbed by the throat and pushed. The cell gave way. That was not planned. Mick plummeted right into the ring, and then the chair that was up there came down after him, smashed him in the face, and sent one of his teeth through his sinus cavity and out his nose.
I know.
Sweet.
And then he's sitting there smiling afterwards, like
he's not. No, he's not smiling. There's a hole.
Oh God!
Under his lip.
Don't tell me.
He's trying to push his tongue through it.
Mick
Good times.
Foley's a crazy motherfucker.
Yeah, and also a really nice dude. So, but no, you're
Yeah.
100% right. I mean, those are workplace accidents.
Well,
right?
look at Jeff Hardy's swanton bombs off
there's
of
so many
Titantrons
guys that
and
have made a
stuff.
career out of defying death.
Yeah.
Right. It's just I'm gonna find something high and jump off it. Personally, as a fan, yeah, it looks cool a couple of times, but don't make a career out of it, man. Like I don't want to see it go wrong, and I've seen it go wrong. It's
I kind of
mean,
wonder at this point in life what Jeff Hardy feels like in the morning when he gets up.
Like the
does
old
he
guy
need-
from Up, where he gets up and he tracks everything. That's probably him.
Seriously, probably right.
Seriously,
I
absolutely.
mean, Jeff is he's got a lot of addiction issues to pain medication and alcohol because of this.
You think?
Oh, shit.
No, I know for a fact. Look up his criminal record. He recently just lost his license for 10 years
Oh my
and
God.
avoided jail
yeah,
time.
yeah.
He only came back to TV last week.
Mike, you're playing with
He's
some
been off.
D&D
He
dice there.
he
You like
left
that?
WWE, did a few months in AEW, got pulled over, in jail, in rehab.
Yeah.
Like last week, came back. And
Now
that's
the career of Jeff
and
Hardy.
that's a lot of things, right?
I mean, you can talk about the infamous pyro things like at James Hetfield in what was it, Montreal?
Montreal,
right?
92,
Yeah, Montreal.
Yeah, where pyro went off and he was forced to.
He stood in the wrong spot and then kablooey, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's the exact same thing that happened to Taker. He was in the wrong spot when the pyro went off. James may have put
But
his
your
feet down
pyro
different.
guy is supposed to watch for that kind of stuff.
Oh, 100%.
Like they're,
Well,
I
all
mean,
that stuff's
we're-
triggered though. It's just you got to know where to stand because that shit's coming no matter what.
Yeah.
Right? And he was standing right where it comes up, and he had third-degree burns. They had to quit the tour, and he didn't play guitar for like 2 months.
And didn't Guns N' Roses refuse to go on after that?
yeah,
Cause
that was a
riot?
whole big thing, and yeah,
Yeah,
and
and
Oh,
that's
that was
Roses.
during the Guns N' Roses. That was a disaster of
Yeah.
a tour, man.
yeah.
The Metallica Guns N' Roses tour.
Oh, yeah, that
my
one was-
God.
that one was snake bit from the word go.
Yeah.
What's the famous quote by Lars? I think it was Lars. Somebody wants an ego ramp with 50 feet into the audience, and
That's
some
right.
of us don't.
Yeah.
Talking
Right.
about Axl Rose.
That's right.
Don't hate me, Axl. If you ever listen to this podcast, I love you.
won't.
You're the best.
Hey Seb, those dice we bought those together when we were like 16
The Dungeons and Dragons dice. I love it.
at Imperial Hobbies when it used to be the original location, wherever the hell that was, Brig House.
Dude,
or
that
something.
was my first store that I got hooked on. I used to go there so much.
That store's awesome. It's
Yeah.
not there anymore. It's somewhere else now, even if it's still open. I'm not sure.
Yeah. We have a
Yeah.
Toy Traders in Langley, which is like a huge,
Oh yeah.
Yes.
huge
Nice.
mecca for all things nerdy. And they have like an entire aisle of Dungeons and Dragons stuff.
Mhm.
And then when
Mike,
you go
have you
buy,
never been to Toy Traders?
oh, you should go to Toy Traders, man.
Okay,
Okay.
when you come down in October,
I
we're
was gonna
taking
say
a side
October
tour.
3rd. Yeah, the next
Yeah.
day or that day of. I don't care. We'll
Toy
come down
Traders
there.
is like Imperial Hobbies on steroids.
really.
Like they
Oh,
have an
yeah.
entire wall where they have memorabilia. They have like a giant
Ooh,
R2D2 and like there's like a Wookiee sitting on a bench.
You know what? I don't
That's
Nice.
honestly, Mike, you can look up Kevin Smith Toy Traders, and Kevin Smith did a whole YouTube video on it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
it's legit, that place.
I don't
for sure.
like telling people too much about it. I just like taking them through the door.
Yeah.
Don't tell. I don't want to know. Just me and Cooper. When we come down, all four of us can go.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay,
Sounds
cool.
good.
So, anybody out there listening, YouTube Kevin Smith Toy Traders, and you can check out if you're not going to be able to go and see it. If you are in the Langley area and have never been, it's right in on the corner of 200th and the Langley bypass, next to the Nature's Fair Market.
Also,
and
Toy
Princess
Traders.
Auto.
Also, Toy Traders, you can make out our sponsorship check to attheinpod@gmail.com.
Hey,
I'll just take some memorabilia. I don't.
I
need
know
all
the
mine.
owner's
Give me-
wife.
Give me some stuff.
Okay, there you go.
Want stuff
the
on my
owner's
wall.
wife and I used to have kids in the same preschool, so we hung out
Nice.
for a couple of years before the
Well,
kids.
can
moved
you
to
get
different school.
can you get me wholesale price on some D&D dice?
Probably.
Although I shouldn't buy anymore. I have like 7 sets at this point. I gotta stop buying them.
Never have too many.
Um,
Seven's not very much. Come on,
I
Seb.
know.
Remind me about your dice after the show,
All right.
because I got something you might enjoy. Okay, what else we got here? We're running a little over an hour, but I'm enjoying this. So, Mike, what do you got for us, buddy?
I have. This one I didn't know. During the filming of The Dark Knight in 2008, there was they were setting up a stunt scene with there's a stunt scene featuring the Batmobile where there was a car in front filming the Batmobile, and the cameraman was hanging out the back window with the camera filming, and the driver driving the car drove into a tree, and
Jesus.
the poor guy with the camera, he didn't survive the injuries, probably broke his neck or whatever. It doesn't go into specifics, but he's pronounced dead at the scene. And yeah, the special effects expert at the time for the movie faced charges for failing to ensure the safety of the cameraman, but he was cleared of any wrongdoing in a trial later on. But I
he
didn't
was
know there
hanging
was
outside
anything
the
like-
car.
Yeah, so like he was.
Oh my god!
Like the sort of the vision I got is the car's going, car's going forward. He's out the back window with his camera. You'd get in the shot of the Batmobile, and then for whatever reason, Buddy driving the car is not paying attention, and he hits a tree. And so I'm assuming the force,
Yeah.
probably,
Mhm.
yeah,
I mean, I've worked with cameramen on film sets before, and the trust that they have in other people
Well,
is
absolutely.
astronomical, right? Because like even if you're doing a walking scene and you're the cameraman, you're not watching where you're going.
no,
Like
of
you're
course
just
not.
tracking the camera on the actors,
Yeah.
and it's up to somebody else who's pulling you along to
Yep.
make sure you don't walk into anything.
Absolute
So,
trust, where you
'cause
fall down some stairs or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
your entire job is to get the frame, so
Yep.
you're not concerned about where the cars go. That's tragic, man. I didn't know that.
sucks.
Oh,
So that's
man,
kind of
yeah.
too. Like in that movie, well,
It's-
that two of them, like with Heath Ledger too, right? That's a little bit different circumstances, but that movie was kind of cursed, really.
yeah, I mean,
yeah, I mean, you're right. The whole Heath Ledger thing too,
Yeah.
like him passing, which
Yeah.
yeah, we've talked about that before too.
We have.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
and I'm sure we'll get to a Batman episode at some point in the future where we can dive deeper into that. But this, as much as we want to believe we are safe doing whatever we're doing, as mundane as it is, this is driven into me, especially at work, dealing with the substances we deal with. Things can happen that are beyond our control.
Mhm.
A gust of wind, a piece of equipment just wearing out,
Yep.
not realizing that something is under pressure. Mike, you drive a lot. I used
I
to
do.
drive a lot, so we're out on the roads, and there's only so much you can do as being a good driver. You cannot
Yeah.
control, the things you cannot see
You can't control the
that
people's
are coming
actions,
at you.
right?
I mean, Mike, you got a medal because you were driving along and
Yeah.
you found somebody had an accident. You pulled them out.
Yeah,
right?
help
Like,
pull
you-
them out. Yeah, the car was on fire. Yeah, like we rolled up.
Oh, you told me about this one time.
Yeah,
I think,
we rolled up. This is like back in 2014, but yeah, we rolled up, and it's just funny, like how fate totally intervened, because the way I wanted to go home was not that way, and my whole day was delayed, and just
Mhm.
everything just sort of worked out to get us in that one spot at that right time. And yeah, we rolled up.
Yeah.
People were watching. Blah blah
And-
blah. We had the gear. We got my manager at the time, who's a good friend of mine, but he pried the door open, thankfully, because the flames were coming through the engine compartment into the car.
Mhm.
Tony, the guy that we saved, his feet got burned, but he made it out of the car, and like within seconds, that car was fully engulfed. And then and if we couldn't get the door open, I was going to go in through the back window, and I who knows if whatever
Mike,
Yeah.
you're a hero.
what
Yeah,
would have
no,
happened with
absolutely.
that.
Like you're legitimately a hero.
Oh,
No, and that's fire, dude. Like
And-
that's
yeah.
unpredictable. And there's fire, and there are flammable liquids. And now cars don't blow up like in the movies 99% of the
they
time.
don't. I've never
But
seen
it
a car
is
like melt down
you are
like that.
still
Basically melted.
there's still smoke. It's still things that should not burn that are toxic fumes.
Yep.
It's you jumped right in there. I mean, I pulled a guy out of a ditch. I was headed for bed one night. My wife was out having a cigarette and heard this crunch noise and is screaming through the dark, "Are you okay?" And it was right before Christmas of 2016, 2017. And this guy had hit a patch of black ice half a block up the road from me, and she's like, "Well, you want to go down and check that?" So toss on the Muppet jammies and my work jacket and my boots, and went down there, and he was wheels in the air in a ditch. I live in a relatively rural area,
You do.
so it's a deep drainage ditch. His window was barely sticking out, but the car was filling with water. And this guy he wasn't speeding, he wasn't acting like an asshole.
No.
The road outside my house is fairly straight, and you can see
Mhm.
it is notorious for drag races, which over the years
Oh
we
yeah,
have
that,
cut
that
down.
road. Oh yeah, man, it'd be great
Yeah.
for racing on.
You guys have been here,
Yep.
right? And it's a good 2-mile stretch that you can drag along, and highly don't recommend it. But this guy was just wheels in the air,
Yeah.
and I was able to kick the window in and help him out. But I mean, that's just it. Safety is an illusion. You can do everything you can do. You can't account for black ice. You can't account for taking
Other
a
people
different route
driving.
home and
No.
Yeah.
and what the fire is going to do. You can't account for a piece of machinery or a seal wearing out. You can't account for a gust of wind. I mean, you might be doing as safe as you could be being a cameraman hanging on the side of a car. And like, if you look at a lot of behind the scenes filming stuff, when they're filming some of these things that are getting that race car on the outside of the track, that cameraman is on the outside of the car in a chair that's basically been welded to it and camera rigging.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're out there in the wind, man.
It's something, man. Yeah.
It's, I mean, and yeah, it's there's just things you can't count for. The other one I have on my list, and I don't mean to jump ahead here because it's fairly short. On Raw in September of 2012, Jerry the King Lawler was doing a very rare match.
Oh yeah.
Everybody knows, like, you think wrestling, you think the elbow drop. He's just standing there, you bring the elbow up, you drop on the guy. Dolph Ziggler had a moveset where he would do a bunch of those real quick. He'd drop it, pop back up, and he'd drop 6 or 7. He dropped one, and this is very akin to the I can't remember his name, but I believe last year, the football guy that got hit, and they carted him off the field mid
soccer. Oh
no, American football, combat egg race.
What's his name?
Yeah.
So, I know
but
you're
he
talking
got
about.
hit, and he got hit in the chest, and the same thing happened with Lawler. It caused the heart to skip a beat or set it off somehow, like just offset the heartbeat. And Jerry finished the match. He went, he sat back down on commentary, and then all of a sudden Michael Cole hears a thump next to him, and Jerry is passed out. He had a heart attack and died off camera, but on live TV.
They resuscitated him after that.
If not for the fact that over the years, the injuries that have happened in the WWE, including Mick Foley, including Owen Hart, including the Undertaker's Pyro, the skilled medical staff they keep on hand, the skilled medical staff the arena has to have on hand, weren't there, Jerry wouldn't have made it.
They have a full EMT team
right
next to the rink at all times, right?
Yeah.
So,
and it's if you check out A&E biography, they just recently did one on Jerry Lawler where he discusses it, and you see the B footage because there's a camera right there near the desk in case they need to do an on camera, and they caught Jerry falling over. They caught all of this on camera.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And this is, and when I heard about the guy in football, I knew exactly what it was, because it was like, there was the play, he got hit and he didn't get up, or he got up and
then he just fell over like 15 seconds later, and then his heart stopped.
That is exactly what happened to Lawler. Same exact thing. His heart
that happened on live TV at the Euros too, to Eric Christensen. He was playing on the Danish team, and in 2020, and I watched the game live.
Yeah, he just fell over.
So
he
was running.
Literally had a heart attack. Didn't even get hit. He just.
It wasn't a heart attack. It was cardiac arrest, which apparently is 2 different things, but they're both affected. They both affect. A heart attack, I think, is something to do with oxygen not going to your brain, and cardiac arrest is when your heart actually stops, or something, or I don't know. I can't remember what's what. Medical people don't hate me for not knowing it, but yeah, he was running to take a throw in, and then you could see his eyes just glaze over, and he just went boom, face down. But you could see them pumping his heart on live TV. Like, I mean, they tried their best to like form a ring around him because they don't want to show that. And then, but you could see different angles of them. And apparently they defibrillated him right on the field after the first defib, which I heard is pretty rare. His heart came to. Amazing resurrection story. Literally. He's now playing soccer for Manchester United, and at one point after that, he's like, you're never going to play soccer again. So, also brings me to the point of, did you know that Sylvester Stallone almost died filming Rocky IV? Do you guys
No.
not know about
No.
this? He was in
No.
ICU for 9 days
Really?
because they
I
were
did not know
filming
this.
in
Too
the
many
ring.
sit-ups in the
No.
loft of the cabin.
They were filming the fight scenes with Ivan Drago with Dolph Lundgren, and they wanted to make it as real as possible. And he said, "Hit me for real, like actually hit me for real." And apparently, he hit him in the ribs so hard that his heart bounced against his ribs,
Oh my
and he had to
God.
go to ICU for 9. He was in ICU for 9 days, pretty much, because
Nice.
Dolph Lundgren said, "All I did was obey orders. He was the boss. I did what he told me."
Right?
Yeah, but
no fault
so
to
he
Dolph,
was-
man. He's just doing what he's told.
Yeah, so
But he's a big dude.
He's a big dude.
Yeah.
A lot of
Dolph
power
Lundgren
behind
was
that.
a big jacked dude.
Yep.
Stallone
Right?
says the punch that did all the damage was an uppercut, which caught the ribs and hit the heart against the rib cage. The doctors told the actor that this type of injury usually occurs in head-on collisions. And then Stallone said, "Yeah, close. I did hit a bus of sorts." But yeah, he was in ICU for 9 days. You know, I don't know how close he was to death, but like anytime the heart gets damaged or hit directly,
Yep.
you're rolling the dice on what's
Yeah.
going to happen with your
Oh,
heart.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's it. I remembered that as you were talking about heart injuries.
Yeah, I never heard that before. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's why a lot of the footage from that movie looks so real, because they really thread that line as close.
Yeah.
Didn't who's the actor that plays Creed? Didn't he actually get
Michael
knocked
B.
out?
Jordan.
Didn't he get knocked out for real? in
Yeah,
one
he
of the
got knocked out
scenes?
I
for
think
real.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he actually they said just hit me for real, or it was they tried to film the punch too close to his face. I can't remember the story of that, but he actually got hit.
Yeah,
for
he
real
got.
and
Yeah,
knocked out.
I met that rings a bell now. I remember hearing that he got.
Yeah, it rings a bell. That joke is funny on so many levels, but not
it
for
though?
concussion protocol. But
not for Michael B. Jordan's head.
you ring a bell in the ring.
That's
his
right. Big
Bell
ding.
got rung. Anyways, moving on.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's brain injuries too, right? Like those concussions are really easy to get. I am sure there are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, probably closer to hundreds of thousands of concussions that happen on movie sets all the time.
Yeah.
And what we know now, and you know, I see it with my dad. My dad,
Dude,
was
I had
hockey
head
before
injuries in soccer all the time, and you just shake it off and go back out there.
That's
When
right.
I was a kid,
Well,
like it's no
I
big
mean-
deal back then, but it is a big deal. Like you shouldn't
It
do
is.
that.
We know now. I mean, my dad was
Yeah.
hockey before helmets, right? And he was a big dude. So he
Oh.
was the enforcer for a lot of teams. And I look at some of the stuff he goes through now, and it can't be anything other than, you know, brain trauma over the years, because they don't have a lot of answers. I mean, there's some serious stuff, but I guess in minor ways, there's been some small strokes that were detected. But
Oh, geez.
it's one of those things where you got to protect your brain. I mean,
Yeah.
it's as old as the joke is, where, you know, the cup was invented in, you know, whatever, and then the helmet was invented here, and it's like it took men 100 years to realize their brain was important too.
Mhm.
I mean, they're not wrong.
Yeah.
Like, it was get up, walk it off. I can't imagine. So like,
You'll back in on the next shift. You'll miss one shift, but you'll be back out there.
oh
That'd be
yeah, in hockey, but like I'm thinking soccer. Some of those balls are coming in pretty hard, and what do a lot of these guys do when they're airborne? They give her a header.
Yeah.
And now, there is a spot in the head that's really, really hard, and you probably don't even affect it. But if you were to tell me they were all getting like super low grade concussions every time they did it, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yep.
I mean, sometimes you just don't hit it squarely in the face, especially if you're not a pro. Like I've headed the ball off the side of my cheek, off the bridge of my nose, off my chin.
Sure.
You know, I've missed it and hit the top of my head, which is terrible.
That hurts, man.
You know, yeah. For those of you that don't know, I played soccer for quite a while.
Oh yeah, you were. I mean, you were playing well after high school.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure when you stopped, because there, you know, we all growed up, and it wasn't easy for, I don't know, in the early 2000s, pre-Facebook, you just lost touch with people, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we all kind of lost touch for a period there. We come back together, and I got kids, and Seb's got a relationship and a house, and Mike's off to get married or had just gotten married in Vegas or wherever. And
Mhm.
so there's it through no fault of anybody's own. It's just, I got to work too much. My shift is different than your shift.
Yeah.
I mean, we're lucky that we found a spot where we could get together every week and have these discussions.
Well, we've never communicated more than we have now, even when we were back in the day. Like this, like we talk literally every day, and it's it's amazing. Like it's just, I love it. It's
Most of
great.
us is Mike and myself making fun of Matt, but that's
It goes around.
Yeah, and
I'm also a pretty good troll. When I take too much heat, I can turn the troll up.
we're just giving you what you want, Matt.
Yeah, basically, we're feeding the beast. But no, like it's, I don't know, like not to get all mushy, but it's something that's I've been missing for a long time. Like you guys, I've known you guys since I was a kid, especially you, Seb. I've known you since I was like 12 years old or whatever.
Yeah, when did we become friends? Like grade 6, I think.
It's like grade 6.
Grade 6.
And rest assured, if you guys aren't around to bust my chops, Sarah's doing it.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, yeah, I don't know. It's just it's important to have friends, and I know I'm an only child that doesn't need a lot of interaction with people, but I cherish every text, every one of these. It's pretty awesome. And I'm not gonna fucking cry because I'm not. But no, it's just, I don't know, it's pretty awesome. You guys are just the
Hey,
fucking
Matt
best.
Q in Murata.
Yeah,
Right? That actually popped up on my Spotify yesterday on my way home from work, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, let's really listen to this, see if it squeezes a tear out. No, Mike's got a deeper connection to that song than I do. And that's
great.
fine.
Yeah.
But
no,
I mean,
these podcasts are like, I wasn't jazzed about the subject today, but you know what? It's whatever. I'm just here to look at you guys and share time. That's what it's all
It's
about.
not a happy subject.
No, it's not.
It's not a positive one, right? So it's
But I mean, I think
like, there's
at
been a
the
lot of
core
stuff I
of
didn't
it,
know. Yeah.
At the core of it, it's a really good lesson for not just our listeners and people out there, but everybody. Like, safety matters, man.
Take care of yourselves out there.
I mean, let's hit it real quick because it's been leaned into so much. I mean, The Crow. There's two different things on movie sets for firearms back in the day. You had blanks so that you would get that muzzle flash, and you had, for a revolver, you had tiny little slugs that if you were looking down the barrel of a revolver, you could see it was loaded. And both of those ended up in the chamber at the same time. And Michael Massey, who passed away in 2016, was the actor that fired it, that got Brandon. And like, it was, everybody showed up to work. Nobody caught this.
I think
Brandon Lee was.
What happened is a previous slug that they fired, part of the tip got lodged in the chamber, and when they loaded the blank to do the scene where they pointed the gun at him, it dislodged the piece and it hit Brandon Lee, I think fatally, pretty much.
Got him right in the heart. Like it was
right square in the chest.
Perfect shot.
So, and the actor's the one that fired it, right? So
Michael Massey. He passed in 2016. If you look at his IMDb, it's not quite clear, but he did take a few years off. He had stuff that he had filmed were released in that time, but he was in a lot of big stuff too afterwards. He was in both of the Amazing Spider-Mans. He was in let's see here, what do we have? He was in Fringe, a TV series, Human Target, Law and Order LA, CSI, Supernatural. He played Kubrick in that show. He was he did a lot of voiceover work for video games and cartoons. I mean, he had a very prolific career, but he also had to get over this, right? And this is
easy.
I mean, a lot of people like, well, Brandon Lee would have been a great action star. I don't think he would have been. I think he would have been a better dramatic actor because The Crow is not necessary. I mean, it is an action movie, but it's not the run and gun action movie. I think Brandon Lee was probably set up for a better dramatic career than anything else.
Well, he definitely went method acting kind of on that scene. So he would I mean, the whole film is a night shoot. It's all filmed at night. And it was during the winter, I think they were filming it. So it couldn't have been warm out there. But he would constantly pour water on himself to give him that like wet look because it was raining. And so he went to these extremes that people were like, you don't have to do this. But he's like, no, I'm doing it for the craft and for the art of the show. And if it's The Crow is one of my favorite movies of all time. If you have
Absolutely.
not seen it, it is a phenomenal movie.
I haven't watched it in a long, long time.
It is so good. I mean, it's so good that Sting modeled his character after The Crow.
Oh, absolutely.
In WCW. So,
You know whose idea that actually was?
yeah, it was Scott Hall, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Because Sting was trying to get rid of his platinum blonde look, I guess, at some point.
Surfer Sting. Yep.
Surfer Sting, yeah. So
That's a story for another time. So yeah, be safe out there, people, is what we're saying. It's
Don't
and-
touch hot things either.
don't
Also-
touch hot, yeah, right.
to go further on
Seb,
what
don't
Matt-
put your finger in that, and
Yeah.
that goes for your dating life too, because I've seen some shit coming down.
Well,
there.
you know, my finger goes where. Never mind.
It
To
goes
further
where
along
it
what
needs to
Matt
go.
said as well is, if you're in an uncomfortable situation and something doesn't feel right, and
Yeah.
I'm not talking about fingers at this point.
No, you're not, but it's kind of hard to avoid it now.
But you know,
But,
if
you
the
know.
shoe fits,
Yeah.
If the shoe fits, if you're in an uncomfortable, unsafe situation, just speak out or just
Yeah.
say you're not comfortable.
Yeah.
If you're on a film set and you're being asked to do something that you don't feel comfortable doing, or for any job,
Any job.
because I've seen on work accidents when people have slipped in boiling oil when they were replacing the oil from a fryer, which
Oh, yeah.
which the business that's happened at changed the policy of when they do the oil. So now the oil is never done at the end of the night. It's done in the morning when it's cold in
Yeah.
case of an accident, because somebody slipped on what they were standing on while they're pouring the hot oil back in because they were cleaning the oil deep fryers, and it spilled on the ground on top of him and he fell into the oil. So, and
You
imagine
know-
trying to get off the floor from that.
No, you
kept
don't.
Slipping
no,
into
no,
it
you just
'cause
slip and yeah.
And the
Yeah.
sad thing about that is it took something like that for the most common sense thing to do. Change the oil when it's cold, not when it's fucking hot. It took someone getting seriously burned for us humans, like Matt said earlier. Like we're fucking dumb. Like it takes tragedies for us to figure shit out, and we just
And I'm
can't
not s-
have the
yeah.
foresight to say, well, maybe we should do this, this time as opposed to this time. It's I don't know.
And I'm not saying this was specific to this situation, but when something's not right, or when you're trying to do a shortcut, which the shortcut involves a lack of safety. Like, don't do it.
Yeah.
Just don't do it. So,
Refuse unsafe work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you know what? It's going to piss off management in some degrees. I mean, I got a couple of quick things here.
Yeah.
One, with what I do, we have some stuff that is super slick. Now, like the oil, the hot oil is going to burn you. Some of the stuff that we have that has been spilled doesn't burn you, but it is corrosive. So you can slip into a puddle just like the hot grease, except now it's eating away at everything it touches, including
Yeah.
your skin,
Good God.
or worse.
Yeah.
God
Yeah,
help you if you
that's-
get it in the eye.
Mhm.
There
We are
goes your
very
eye.
safety conscious where I work.
Sure.
We try to be at the very least, but shit happens.
Yeah.
Now you both have been to the Colossus Theater in Langley.
Mhm.
yes,
It's no secret that I worked there for many years.
No secret.
Right
no secret.
in the first year. Now, as you in there, they have food outlets. The pizza outlet, it's always been the pizza outlet because the oven's hard to move.
Makes sense.
Above that, there are, or used to be, poster boxes that we would have to change. They blacked them out years ago for the reason of one of the staff members that I worked with. I wasn't on shift that day. Had gone up and she had changed the posters. There's a small steel grate. It's a 2 or 3 feet across that you walk on to change the posters. However, there's no guardrail.
Uh-oh.
What is next to that is the open plastic grating meant to allow the heat to escape from inside the pizza and taco stand that is below it. She took one too many steps backwards.
Oh God.
Her back foot, with all of her weight on it, was on that plastic grate. She fell through it, bounced off the warming tray for the tacos, and then hit the floor.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
terrible.
geez. Wow.
Right. And this is
Was she
just
okay?
changing up. All she had to do was go up there and change one poster.
But
Yeah,
you
so-
need guardrails for stuff like that, right? Like,
I mean, Seb, you work in a kitchen, so you not only have hot and I don't know if you're on grills or if you have the flame broiler or whatnot, but you also have sharp. Right.
yeah,
How
we have
many
everything.
cut injuries, minor or major, have you seen over the years working in that? Working behind a bar, you know what? Bottles and glasses get dropped, right?
I mean, I have cut myself on broken glass more times, especially working in nightclubs as a busser. You know, when I first started in this industry, having to clean broken glasses off tables. And at the end, you know, a lot of the times it's so busy and you're on the floor and moving and grooving and you don't have a cloth with you. You're picking up shards of glass with your hand because it's either
you don't
get
have
it
time.
off the table now and
Yeah.
prevent some drunk person from face planting into the table where there's broken glass, you know, or you leave it there and, you know, like you have to clean it up at some point.
Yeah.
So I've gotten really good
I mean-
at cleaning broken glass with my hands, spare hands, but
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
and you know
cut
what?
yourself from time to time. So
I got a daughter that works in a kitchen, and I've warned her about stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah.
doing karaoke hosting for years, you'd see it, and not only is it the broken glass, but then you got to clean up the ice that's on the floor as well, because
Yeah.
then some dumbass drunk is going to come along and slip on that.
Mhm.
I mean, a lot of these public tragedies like The Crow, like Rust, the stuff that's on camera, movie sets, tales from behind the scenes, like, geez, there's a helicopter decapitated a man.
Mhm.
Like, these are high
Yeah.
profile, but this stuff happens on a daily basis. Daily basis.
and it can be prevented for the most
There
part.
are, yes.
Absolutely.
I mean, the medal ceremony I attended there was a couple of fires, but a lot of it was water accidents.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
The fire is quite clearly a problem. You don't often think
Yeah.
about it with water,
No.
especially, you're not even near a lake or a river.
Yeah.
So basically what we're saying out there, people, is be careful. Don't take anything for granted. You might not be on set with, loaded firearms to some degree. You might not be hanging off the back of a car. You might not be working around pyro on a stage. These happen. I mean, we see them in celebrities and everybody's like, oh, but I mean, there are people daily
These
basis
accidents
working with
happen every day. Yeah.
daily basis, and you don't hear about it.
No.
You don't hear about it, and it doesn't make the news. And there are everyday people that stick their nose in, and then there are people that sign up for it.
Mhm.
I know when after my incident, when I found out that there was some stuff moving forward for metal, I didn't feel like taking it because I have first responder friends, I have firefighter friends, I have
Oh, yeah.
paramedic friends, I have police friends. I know people in the military. It's like, I just
You just
these
did the
people
right thing.
deserve it. These
Right, you
people
did the
have
right
signed up for it, and my police friends looked me square in the face. Shout out to Vic. He's a I think he's 25 years in on the RCMP. He says, no, we signed up for it. You got your ass out of bed, went down the road in your pajamas, and helped this guy out.
Mhm.
You deserve it just as much as anybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, Mike, you absolutely deserve it just as much as anybody else.
Yeah, and to put a bow on my story, the people that I helped save, Leslie and Tony, I became close with them in the years moving forward and all the way. They even came to the ceremony in Ottawa
Mhm.
to watch the three of us get our medals. But we bought them because Tony passed away a couple of years ago. We bought them like 5 more years. So that's kind of cool, right?
Yeah, I mean that's
'cause
great. I mean,
it was over for him. He was stuck in the car. He was unconscious. It was over. And so
It's an incredible story, Mike.
oh man, it's crazy. That's even it was going on now. It was 9 years ago, and I still every time I drive by the spot, think about it every single time.
Yeah.
I drive
Yeah,
I drive by
it like twice a week, and it's like, oh yeah,
I
there's
drive
that.
by mine daily.
Yeah, right. Oh, of course you
Multiple
do, 'cause
times a
it's
day
right around
because
the corner from your house.
it's
Yeah.
it's right up the street. I can
Yeah.
show you the exact spot. And it was, I mean, the guy that lived at the property there went up to the house to find a crowbar. I just kicked the window in because the guy's inside panicking and
Yeah.
it's filling with water
Sure.
because
Yeah.
it's an active creek, it's active drainage.
Sure.
And I saved the guy's Christmas.
Yeah.
Like
You
it
saved-
was less
you
than a
saved-
week before
You
Christmas
saved
when it
his life,
happened.
you saved his family from years of suffering of losing their dad, right, or whatever.
And hopefully there's people out there. I know that I have friends that work in other dangerous industries, and they're like, you would not believe the near miss logs that we have. I'm like,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
you work for a major railroad. It's like, you would not believe.
Yeah, I have no
You
idea.
would not believe how close we come on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are people out there that stick their nose in and help. There are people out there whose job it is. I mean, you don't go to a construction site and not have a safety officer on board. And a lot of time the guys on the site don't like the safety officer because they're making the job more difficult.
Yep.
But at the same time, they're coming and going, clip yourself in. You're doing windows on the 10th floor.
Yeah.
Tie your hair back. You're using a drill.
Right?
Right?
Just or roll your sleeves up because you're using a drill or whatever, right? Because if
Yeah.
you or using a saw, if you got your sleeve hanging out, you get caught in a saw. Well, bye arm, right? It's
Yep.
just the way it goes. Yeah. Because when
So
I got my medal, do you guys remember when there was the cenotaph in Ottawa when the RCMP guy got
Mhm.
shot?
Yep.
He was at our ceremony and he got the first medal. I can't remember. It was like the super duper. Like I got bravery, and then this guy, he was like the Star of Excellence or whatever. But yeah, he was there, and like what I did felt like small peanuts for this guy surviving a shooting, stuff like that, and just being all the stories that because there was probably 20 people that got medals, and it's just all these heroes of just most of them are just regular people and just
Mhm.
they're in the right place at the right time to save somebody else. And that's just, I don't really,
I would hope that my belief in humanity is that most people would react the same way you did and try to
Yeah.
help somebody out of a car.
or if you were
Right.
in the same predicament, you would hope people would stop, come by,
Yes,
help, risk
yeah.
their own safety to save you, as opposed to just drive by and just keep on going. And
Like,
say,
oh, that sucks,
Yeah.
like,
that sucks to be
Yeah.
that guy in the river. Fuck him. And,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and how many times do we see that we've driven past an accident scene, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, we went down a couple of rabbit holes here. God bless every safety officer out there that is preventing these things that we never hear about. And
don't hate your work safe people that come in to give you a hard time at your place of employment. They are
Mhm.
there for one specific job to make sure that the job that you are working in your environment is safe.
make sure
So
you don't
listen to
fucking die
them
at
because
work.
they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And this is not sponsored by WorkSafe BC in any reason, or you can send a check if you want. But
I will absolutely. You know what? And that's one thing. Why you mentioned the sponsorship. Several podcasts I listen to out of the States, they have the NHTSA ads going on, and it's the National Institute of Highway Safety something or other down in the
There you
States,
go.
because people are still driving drunk. People are still doing stupid shit. People are still going, the train's not here yet. I can get around the barricade.
no,
Or I'm not going to wear my
stupidest
seatbelt
thing
because
ever.
I don't need to. It's a waste
So,
of time. Like, come on.
Absolutely. I mean,
I'm
Seb
only
was getting
driving
to-
to- yeah.
absolutely. I will sit here
Yeah.
and I will read a work safe
Yeah.
ad if they want to sponsor the program. I will absolutely do that. Not a problem
Same.
with that. I will sponsor. As a matter of fact, if you have a business out there that you would like to throw us a couple bucks for an ad, we'll take it.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Shameless plug.
yeah.
Gotta do what we gotta do, man.
Yeah.
Hey man, just because I enjoy doing it doesn't mean I won't get paid for it, or at least offset some of the costs, because it ain't free to do the streaming.
None of this shit
It's
is free.
not.
No, it's not.
So, but anyways, it's been a fairly dark episode.
Yeah.
It's
What do
okay.
you
Next
say we
week
have
will be a
some fun
lot
next
lighter.
week? Let's have some fun next week, shall we?
Yeah.
It's
We'll
gonna
talk
be a good
season
time.
one of
We'll do it.
Mando. Are you gonna get through season two?
Oh,
I
baby.
will try.
Do it.
Yeah, so
It's
it's
shorter than season one. The episodes are short. You can do it.
Yeah, the episodes are short. You really need to finish season 2.
I know you're gonna spoil it regardless. I got
I'm
it.
not. Yeah, oh, it's gonna get spoiled. But
you
you
got till
need
next
to see
Saturday,
it.
buddy. That's,
I got it.
I need to rewatch it because I forgot what happened. So Well, I know what
How?
happened in the very. Oh, yeah. Okay, now.
Yeah, there. Yeah. So
Okay.
Mike,
Blah,
Mike
blah, blah,
knows.
blah, blah, blah.
Okay, I got it. I remember. It's there.
Anyways, we're gonna go to a galaxy far, far away. We're gonna do general Star Wars talk, and then every week after that, we're gonna hit something from the original trilogy,
Yeah, man.
leading up to the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. It's got a special place in my heart because it was the second movie I ever saw in the theaters.
Nice.
So come back and join us all month long. Fucking May, it's May, baby. You can take your Justin Timberlake memes and shove it sideways into a dark, dark corner. And
May the fourth be with you.
May the 4th be with you, baby. We will see you on Revenge of the Sixths. Thank you for sticking with us for an hour and 45. Join us as always. If you want to download us on Apple and Spotify, you can see us on Twitch. You can see us on Facebook. You can see us on YouTube. Have the day you deserve.
And
See you
be a
later.
good human. That's all I got to say.
Yeah,
Just
be
be
good.
good to each other, and that's that. Do your
Yep.
part.
See you later.
Bye bye.
Did you kind of just say be excellent to each other?
Be excellent to each other.
Sure.
Party
Yeah.
on, dude.
Yeah, exactly.